Hey guys, what's going on? It's that home theater dude. I'm out here at Audioquest in Irvine, California. We're about to check it. It's Irvine, right? Or
Yes.
Irving?
Irvine.
Irving is in Texas.
Right.
Irvine is in Orange County.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're out here at the Audioquest factory out here. We're about to do a quick little factory tour, and we're going to let you guys know all about it. So if you guys like content like this, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and we'll see you right after the intro.
One of the things that makes Audioquest unique is we make our own plugs. So we design them, develop them, we have them machined to our specifications with the metal that we decide for them based on the price point. So in this case, this is red copper. So this is one of our spades. It's pure red copper, and then it gets plated silver. This is one of the bananas. So it's pure silver, what's called hanging silver. Hanging silver is much thicker than normal silver, so we don't have to put anything underneath. It's direct plated. And we do that on just about everything that we do, all the way down to even our BNCs. You can see a BNC connector here with the silver plate as well. And this is one of the new Dragon XLRs. So this is a two-part shell that goes around here. It's actually plated to help with the shielding. Garth can explain a little bit more of that when we get in the other room. All the way down to our ACs. So our wall ACs, if you look at this, the metal itself is red copper. Then it gets silver plated as well. The material inside here is about 20% thicker than what it normally does. And the reason for that is the contact point has more grip. So the more grip you have, the better it's going to sound. It doesn't have any of the arcing that you might get. Everyone's gone in and plugged into an AC outlet, and you can hear that and moving around and sloppy and loose. That contact is really, really important. So when you're plugging in and out, you'll notice it on the Niagara pieces, plugging in and out the Niagara pieces, how tight these are, which is a really important process. When we were developing these, we could have just bought off-the-shelf units or some hospital-grade units or other manufacturers' units, but we listened to them. And we listened to all of them, and then we determined, we're going to have to make our own. And by making our own, we can control exactly what the metal is, what the plating is, and design it the way that we want to get the performance best suited for the price points that we're looking for, the products that we're putting them in, for sure. So again, there's a variety of this kind of stuff. These are some samples of our DBS packs, which is interesting. So this is one of the original DBS packs that was made forever ago. This is 24 volts. The original one, I think, was 12 volts. And it was another friend of the industry of Bill's that said, hey, I'm doing this in my crossover. You should figure out a way to do it into your speakers or your speaker cables or any of your cables. And we started working on that, and Bill created a design that incorporated the DBS dielectric bias system. And originally it was 12 volt because even his friend didn't believe that the voltage made that much difference, but we learned really quickly that the voltage made a difference. So we went from 12 to 24, and then, we can do more. 36 volt, it sounds better. 48 volt, it sounds better. We ended up with 72 volts. And these packs now are 72 volts. They're made out of ABS, so they're lighter on the cable as compared to this metal one, which was like a little boat anchor on the cable. This was the in-between model, 36 volts. You can see how long that was in comparison. Again, this was the first ABS one that we used. And then this is the new one. And depending on the models, so if you get into our XLR cables, the way that Garth designed those cables, it actually needed two packs. So it's a pack that looks just like this, but it's a little bit bigger, and it's two 72 volt DBSs in one. So you'll have the double lights and the double buttons to be able to test with. So that's some of the plugs that we've designed. There's the RCA for the Dragon plug, same thing. This is pure silver plate, red copper, fully machined, excuse me, not machined, this is die cast with it over. The center pins themselves are red copper, machined, pure silver plate. Really nice plugs. The terminations themselves are a cold weld. So think of forging. It's just like forging, so there's no solder involved. It's 100% crimp that goes around it, and if you were to do a cross section and look at it, it'll look like one piece. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference other than the color. So you'd have the copper versus the other, and that's done with a tool. Let me see where the tool's at, that we created ourselves. So the tool itself, we can do RCAs in here, and it does the positive plus the negative all in one operation. and does that cold weld. This side over here is the XLR, same thing. It'll do all 3 pins of an XLR connector in one operation. So that's all done in-house, but it's also the same tool that we sell to integrators that can make Red River, Chicago type cables. So if you're making a rack, you can use our product with the braid, the high-end connectors, the better metal, the better geometry of the cable, and do it in a way that you can customize it and make it look like it was all factory prep cables with this tool, which is very cool. This side of the room, you know, for years while I was working here, we didn't make power products, and we weren't going to make power products until we had a guy like Garth Powell. And I'll always remember the day we were at CEDIA, and Garth walked in the booth the day before as we're setting it up, and I'm chatting with him, and then Bill walked in, and Bill made some kind of comment, you know, we won't do power unless we ever get a guy like you, and you're never going to leave. And he goes, well, you know, so they talked for a while, and before you knew it, Garth Powell joined Audioquest. And I think it was 2 years while he was developing his first product, and his first product was this one right here. So that's the Niagara 7000. I opened the lid for you so you can take a peek to see what's inside. We don't mind sharing. So this is incredibly complicated piece that he developed. It's 95 pounds fully built. You can look at some of our competitors' products and kind of see what's inside their box. This box is stuffed, and there's just packed full of technology. And we went the extra mile with so many different things in here. The wire is spec'd by us. All the wire is directional. You'll see the colors on here where the guys made the wires, showing the directionality of each one. The boards themselves were designed by Garth with different thicknesses. The trace is different. Do you have a board somewhere, Abraham, that I can see the back? Yeah, I can. So it's all point to point. So you'll actually see wire in the back, all the way down to the connectors themselves. So when we're using ring lugs, we didn't just buy ring lugs, we created our own. So it's red copper, pure silver plate, hanging silver, ring lugs. The nuts themselves, we did the same thing, red copper, pure silver plate. Why? Because it's performance, it adds more performance. Same with the directionality that we're doing. Lots of unique things like ferrite heat shrink. In this wire actually has a second wire that's in it that picks up noise and then dissipates it, and that's why it's inside the ferrite. The outlets, again, we developed ourselves. But another thing that's really unique is all the capacitors that are in here. Let me pull something from down here as an example that have AQ on them. So these actually go through a cooking process. So we break these in, and I'll show you that when we get in the back here. We've spent a considerable amount of investment. I think it took us a full year to cook enough caps to do the first run of these. So 24 hours a day we cook these things. So they'll cook for 24 hours at a specific voltage, and that's set by Garth, that's determined by Garth, depending on which one we're cooking. And we cook them all the way down to the little guys that are in here in the back. And every one of those makes a difference. You can physically sit down. Garth would make a power cord that has little alligator clips, and you can listen to one that's been cooked versus one that hasn't been cooked. And absolutely the one that's been cooked sounds better. So that's what I'm talking about on the boards. So even the wire that's in the boards in the back, we cut ourselves. It's all directional. It's all spec'd by Garth. The silver that we're using is spec'd by Garth as well. It's not generic solder off. The board was completely developed by Garth as well. And there's some components that he spec'd that we don't do anything to, of course. So very, very quite unique. But we didn't know how to make these. So we never made amplifiers. We've never made electronics. So we had to figure it out. So this whole side of the room was a work in process. So each one of these workstations that are down here, they're actually welding benches. So those benches can actually turn to an angle up to where the guys are working now in it instead of over it, and it makes it easy for them. When they're not making Niagaras, because we make the 7000 all in-house, they're making cable. When they are making Niagaras, what do we average? 6 a day? Yeah. 6 a day. So start to finish, just like that, 6 a day. One of the things that you're not seeing, so you see this cover that's in here right here, are these 2 transformers. So there's 2 of these inside the Niagara that sit under the cover here. This is a patented transformer that Garth developed that's actually DBS. He can tell you more about that in the other room. That sits underneath the hood here. They're incredible pieces. I made the first one to learn how it goes together. So I spent a couple of weeks, come down, do a little bit at a time, and I wired up the first one myself, piece by piece. Learned a lot. So we had to create special tools, special methods. But by the time we were done, we did it in a way that probably is not the same as other manufacturers that make amplifiers and things, because we had nothing to start from. So we learned as we were doing it. So I have boxes of tools that we'll never use, and I have boxes of tools that we used and modified tools to get into specific areas, because there's so much going on inside this one. All of the other ones, the 5000, the 3000, the 1200, those are assembled overseas. So we buy all the components for them and send them over there. We send all the wire sets, so we build the wire sets ourselves. So if you come over here, you can see some of these wire sets. We're quite nutty and quite fanatical. So these are the wire sets depending on what they're making, they're all 4 different models. So there's a European version and a US version and AP or the version for Asia. So depending on the wire set that they're doing, they'll just pull the correct wire sets. And each one of these, like I said, is made specifically, all the way down to ones that got the ferrite heat shrink with double wires inside and a drain wire that runs through it. All specifically spec'd by Garth. And I think you use Niagara, so you know what they're like and what they sound like. So if you look at this, this is all the different plugs. So unlike a lot of manufacturers that have the same plug and it's used across different models, ours are not. It could be as simple as a color and a name, but depending on the price point and where it's at, it could be red copper, it could be purple copper. We even have gold. So we have stuff that's purple copper, but gold plated, depending on the market. So certain markets still love gold. We don't love it, we like it, but we know that silver is better and it sounds better. So the majority of the product that we do is all silver. All the way down to mini jacks, where we created our own mini jack as well. Same thing with the silver plate, the same type of material that we were talking about earlier. It doesn't matter if it's an XLR, if it's an RCA, you name it. A lot of strange things that we do, because this is a custom shop. If somebody can dream it up, we'll make it. If it's a proprietary plug, something that I can't get and it's on their cable, but we can take it off the cable and put it onto an Audioquest, we'll do that. We stock a lot of weird stuff in here as well that you wouldn't normally see for all the custom one-offs and things of that nature. So Boulder Amps uses these guys, so we keep a few of them. And when people are looking for power cords, we'll add that sucker onto one of our power cords. And we have a lot of different plugs up there that are unique and special that we do, you know, 1 a year, maybe 2 a year. And again, if there's a plug that is different than what we normally have, if we can find it and buy it, we'll buy it ourselves and put it on the thing and make it custom for somebody. If somebody wants a weird Y cable, we'll customize a Y cable. If somebody wants a Y cable that's short on one end, long on the other, we'll make it. So even the power plugs. This is red copper, pure silver plate, made to order for us. We spec all that. All these things are made. Some of them are gold, some of them are purple copper, some of them are red copper. And the name just is for the purity of the copper that we're using. So it seems like a simple operation putting heat shrink on there, but the reality is, there's three cables like that and the braid, you know, you could burn that braid. So he's got to be very smart with how much heat he actually applies to that. So he shrinks it down without burning that braid. And we had an interesting custom cable that was getting made before you got here, but unfortunately they were halfway through and I had a feeling they'd be done before you got here. So the warehouse is in a little bit of a flux. We're changing it a little bit. There's going to be a rack that goes right down the middle here to get us a little more space and change the way that the guys actually walk around to get stuff. So there used to be 2 workstations here, and then there was a rack. The rack's been removed. All of this is disappearing. Tomas is moving over to the other side over there. So as you walk in here, this first section that goes down through here, this is order fulfillment. So the guys get the orders. There's 2 ways the orders come down. The orders can come down as what we call a pick and pack. That's the stuff that's already packaged, already on the shelf. All they got to do is pull it and add it to the order. And then there's the custom stuff. So the custom stuff that came out of the shop goes down over here on the shelf. If it's any of the high-end products, the top 3 products, those go through a second QC process. So every cable those guys make goes through a QC process. There's meters in there. They test every single one of the cables that they make. So if they're making 15 cables, they test 15 cables. If it's any of the mythical creatures, it goes down to the QC department down here and sees Ken, and then Ken puts it through another test all the way down to cosmetics.
Ken, right on cue.
As he walked out the door. And we'll walk by there. Hopefully they'll still be here. That can't be right. Is it 2:30? It is 2:30.
Yeah.
So they'll still be here. So all these end caps, these are all of our different accessories, all the different things that are in our price book. Whether, there you go, AC plug from Mistral. That's the Mistral bulk you can buy, and you can terminate that onto it. Make your own custom high-end power cords. Different kind of connectors, the Chicago. So these connectors are for the tool that we showed in earlier that go on. Beepy beep beep. Q feet. That's been around in a couple different iterations as long as I've been around. They're fantastic underneath gear. Sorry, Garth, we're taking a little longer than normal. Apologize. The same thing on these end caps. So again, this is all order fulfillment. They're doing either pulling orders or repackaging some items. In this case, they're packaging up some HDMI and some power products, probably into a kit. If I'm going to be a betting man, depending on the consumer or the dealer, it's either an Audioquest product. Well, it's all Audioquest, but we also make kits that are sold specifically depending on the market, and it might have a power cord in it, an HDMI, and something else. So these racks here, this is mostly HDMI. Whoa. So that's all HDMI as you go down through here in various.
A lot of HDMI.
We do sell a lot of HDMI. The biggest thing that most people do, consumers as well as installers, is they don't pay attention to the directionality. Now, directionality is free. All you have to do is listen for it. The problem with most manufacturers is they're stranded. So you have to then listen to every strand, right? And then it goes to the factory where they put them all on a rack, and all those get twisted in. So all that has to be paid attention to because we're solid core. And a lot of times it's 3 conductors only in the cable, or 1 conductor, or on a speaker cable you might have 12 conductors. As an example, you can control those and you can manage those. But installers, I couldn't tell you how many times we've had the Best Buy guys here, the Geek Squad, and we get to the part where we talk about directionality, and we let them listen to it. And the moment they listen to it, you hear, oh shit, I'm gonna have to change everything in my house because they didn't pay attention. So this is our Rodeo drive. So this is all flow rack system. So there's 2 guys that manage all the racks in here every day. So they fill these boxes. This can do anything from single packs, which you have in here, to small master cartons to 30, 60, something like that. Anything more than that, the overflow is on the back side of these racks. So as an example, if we're shipping to Best Buy, we could have 15 pallets of products for a single order, and they'll pull large quantities off the back. And then we got the mom and pop dealer, and it might be just onesie twosies. They'll come through here, they'll pick everything that they need, put it together, and out it goes. Dragonflies. You'll see the plastic that's on this. So we're slowly converting from the plastic to this recycled paper to eliminate the plastic and still protect the package when it gets to the dealer, especially in the retail environment. So starting down here, this is where shipping starts. So shipping is all the way down to the end. We ship all over Asia from here. We ship to Latin America from here. We ship all domestic from here. We're direct in Canada, so we ship out of here directly to the dealers in Canada. So each guy might be a specialist. One guy does domestic, one guy does international. If it's international, the docks that go with it are considerably different than a domestic order. So on average, if the order comes in before 10 o'clock, it ships within 24 hours or same day on average. All right, so this is our QC department. So with QC, we do 100% QC of all the products that are made overseas. And in a lot of cases, if it's HDMI, it's QC'd multiple times along the line. But then we do a lot inspection. So he's not just doing lot inspections in here when it comes in, but he's also doing 100% QC, like I told you before, of all the higher end products. So every one of the higher end products, when it gets finished, it gets QC'd in production, and then it comes down here to Ken, and then Ken does another QC and another inspection. Not just for continuity, not just to make sure the termination was done right, but also cosmetics, the packaging, the way that it lays in the box, every aspect of it. You know, in a lot of ways, we're making Ferraris, we're making Lamborghinis, and somebody that gets it when they open it up, the outside of the box, the inside of the box, the fit and finish has to match the performance of the product, 100%.
Well, all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up from the factory tour out here in Irvine. Big thanks to everyone at Audioquest that was a part of this one. Garth was very gracious of his time and generous. He did some A/B test over here. I'm not going to show you guys. If you guys want to see it or hear it, make sure you guys go to the audio shows that are coming out there. I know I just saw him over at Expona. He was going a million miles a minute whenever he was there, so I didn't have time to chat with him. But you guys can definitely get that opportunity as well. And I always hear it in the industry, you know, cables, you know, whatever, it's audio jewelry, it doesn't matter. Do yourself a favor, sit down with the dealer, listen to it yourself. If there is a legitimate difference, then you can make up your own mind. Stop reading the stuff on the internet. Just make sure you guys are checking the stuff out yourselves. And speaking of which, if you guys want to grab any of this stuff, you guys know where to go, gridhifi.com. You guys can check us out. We'd be happy to help you out with any of your Audioquest needs. I use this stuff in my home theater personally, so it's not smoke, guys. Check it out. That's all I got for you guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.